You're listening to North Central Infused, the official podcast of North Central Electric Cooperative, your source of information for your cooperative and our community.
All right, North Central Infused. This is our August episode. We've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to just jump right in. But I'm joined once again by our Director of Safety and Loss Control, J.D. Cox.
Good to be here.
Our CEO and General Manager, Kevin Doddridge.
Good to be here as well.
And our Director of Marketing and Economic Development, Michael Bellapani.
Hey, Justin. Thanks.
And I am your media specialist, Justin Jaggers. I got in trouble last month because I didn't introduce myself, so if you're wondering who I am. I guess I'm just going to throw it to you. I know that everyone is chomping at the bit for some big news, and it involves your squash casserole, right? That's your recipe for
my squash casserole.
I'm teasing. No, we talk about North Central Connect. I know. So,
yeah, we are doing a lot of planning right now for Connect. It's the end of our year, our financial year ends in end of June. So a lot of planning goes in that, and planning ahead for Connect and what we're going to do. It was a pretty good year financially for us, and we're moving into our budget time. And budget's always interesting because that's how we look at what we're going to do with our rates. What we're doing right now from a budget standpoint and spending at North Central is we've really ramped up our maintenance costs quite a bit. And that's one of those things. It's maintenance is a very unsexy line item. But when you're going through, as we're approaching right now, kind of a storm season, we had storms back in the early winter, unprecedented tornado in January. We always see the effects of those storms, but a good maintenance system, and especially as our physical plant begins to age, is really necessary. And we're going to offset some of these larger maintenance costs that we're going to incur, which is mainly going to be tree trimming. But in this age, tree trimming is also followed up with quite a bit of debris removal, as we've got to clean up a lot of what we do. We're glad to do that. There's just a cost associated with it, and there's an environmental impact on where you take it. So we'll probably have a small rate increase somewhere in the area of about 1.8%. That'll offset any maintenance and operations that we plan to have to increase this year, and also any interest on any loans we need. We're going to have a big capital budget this year. You know, we're probably going to look anywhere from $8 to $10 million worth of fiber, and then really from a capital standpoint, we've been putting another 10 plus million into our physical plant a year, and we're going to see the same thing as we continue to grow. The good thing about the rate is a component of your rate is a fuel cost adjustment, and that's what TVA charges us for their cost of fuel to generate electricity. And the fuel cost adjustment in the upcoming months will be at unprecedented lows. So that'll offset anything that we do on the retail side. Why is it low? We had a very good spring. We didn't have peaky temperatures, very firm load. TVA did not have to go out on the market and buy power. Our sales were consistent. Our sales are actually it's somewhat flat compared to last year, maybe with a slight increase. But with the COVID outbreak, there's a lot of places whose sales decreased. That combined with good rainfall, hydropower, TVA is able to keep the fuel costs at an unprecedented low, which really is going to help a lot. I said something about COVID. We're just trying to maintain consistency here right now. Everybody's going through a certain amount of COVID fatigue. We're just trying to make sure that our members and our employees are staying safe. We want to keep our office open, and we're doing everything we can to do that. It's just going to be a consistent, everyday pattern that we've got to do, and we take that very seriously around here. We had a point back in April or May when we were trying to look at how things were going to end and how we were going to emerge from it. Right now, we're not quite there yet because we just really haven't seen an end to it. So I think that's going to be something you're going to hear us say a lot, is that we just got to keep on keeping on with what we're doing and use good, safe practices. You kick this off mentioning North Central Connect, and that's a big part of what we're doing right now. We've outlined some areas that we want to get our fiber to first, recognizing the fact that we already got close to 80 miles in the air that connects all of our substations. We've designated several areas, and And fortunately, we're going to be able to probably get a little bit of grant money to help. When you're looking at large projects, anything helps. And through the CARES Act designated a certain amount of money to Mississippi. And then Mississippi determined that we did have an emergency and that some of our areas that don't have high-speed internet, they're going to really struggle with distance learning. So we were told that there were grant monies available through the CARE Act through our state that if we applied for and agreed to serve some really underserved and areas that aren't served at all, if we could get them as a primary target for our fiber rollout, there'd be certain grant funds available. So we applied for a grant. We fully anticipate getting at least $2.5 to $2.75 million, which when you're looking at a system build out of probably $100 million, people could probably say that's not that much, but it's a great way to help us with that first step forward. We think it's going to be a great way to make sure that we get the ability to really satisfy our primary objective, and that's to get fiber to the home in the very underserved areas, to be able to help them with high-speed internet, but also help us with smart grid technologies in some of these areas where it really is more advantageous for smart grid technology to be in a more rural area, where we can do more automated type activities and not have to roll trucks all the time. There's going to be, Michael may discuss the marketing of that, but we think that Northcentral Connect's probably going to be able to offer a product to our members hopefully in early October, and we're going to be moving at a pretty fast pace then, especially based on the interest in our product. So excited about what we're going to see coming up before the end of the calendar year. Hoping to have maybe 500 to 1,000 customers, and looking forward to bringing on about another 5 to 10 the next year. Those are exciting things.
And to kind of recap, we talked about this last month, but you said the areas north and west of Byhalia.
That's correct.
That's what
we've
we're
identified an
planning on
area
first.
north and west of Byhalia that, and we really went back on what the public utility staff of Mississippi told us. Mm-hmm. They basically took some FCC maps and presented them to us and said, these are areas that are underserved. So that was a decision that we didn't make. Mm-hmm. But to qualify for any grant, and when I say grant, we're talking about a matching grant. When the state came to us and said, we think we might have some money if y'all can provide rural broadband, we gave them an offer they couldn't refuse, so to speak. We said, yeah, work that up and we'll match anything that you can come up with. Mm-hmm. So we really gave the state an opportunity to double up on their investment pretty quick.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, because I know the thing on, at least for social media, that I see is what's coming first, who's getting served first, and everyone in our service area is ready for this. So that's just what I kind of wanted to point out, was make sure that you know that it's the areas north and west of Byhalia first.
Right, that is correct.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to safety for the month of August with our Director of Safety and Loss Control, J.D. Cox.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. Got a good bit of information today to talk about, and kind of want to set the stage to talk about a few outages and things like that we've had going on lately. As Kevin alluded to, overall system demand is down. But throughout the summer especially, we have those days when the temperature and the humidity just really gets up there, and everybody has to start cranking those air conditions up. And as a result of that, the demand can get pretty high at specific times. We recently set a record for demand. On July the 16th, we actually were delivering 282 megavolt amps of electricity, which that's an incredible load. We're very proud to be able to safely deliver that to the 33,000 plus members that we have. Our employees work really, really hard to make sure that that happens. And sometimes when the demand gets that high on those specific days, anytime you have a weakness, when the demand is really, really high, that's when it's going to show. And we've had a couple of electrical devices, transformers, that failed and have caused some extended outages. Yeah. And so just kind of wanted to talk about the reason for those. Anytime that temperature gets high like that, demand gets high, If you have a weakness, that's when it's going to show itself. The ones we've had lately have been the transformers. Just like to thank everybody for being so patient with us when we're out there trying to get those repaired. Please keep in mind some of the things that add to that time is just simply safety protocols that the employees have to go through to make sure that while they're out there away from their families, getting the electricity back on, that once that's over, they can get safely back to their family. And we fully support that effort to maintain those procedures, those safety procedures is something that's really important to us. We talk a lot about it. And so just thank you for being patient, but we did want you to know that that's the reason for some of those outages, and some of that time is just strictly for the employees to make sure that they're following the proper protocol.
Now, you said the demand was how high again?
We delivered 282 megavolt amps of electricity through all of our substations to our members.
Okay, so just for the people that may not understand what that is, can you put that in some sort of terms that the average Joe could understand?
I'll tell you the way I always like to describe it is, let's say you, because I'm an average guy, I come from the accounting side, and a lot of that's always been an education for myself as well. But I've always kind of described it as you own a grocery store, and demand is how quickly you're serving something, what your capacity is. So if you had a store and you had 1,000 customers in one day, and they all shop between the hours of 8 and 8, then that's kind of easy going. It's not a big deal. If you have 1,000 customers and they all show up between 3 and 5, that's when it's going to stress your store out. Okay. And that's kind of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. It's like when the weatherman says it's going to snow, and all of a sudden between 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock, after that you can't find any milk, bread, sugar, any of those things. When those temperatures go up and everybody starts hitting those air conditions and things like that at the same time, it causes that demand to go up. And
we may actually sell the same amount of electricity as another day, but it's just the manner in which it's purchased that puts a stress on the system.
Okay. And as Kevin talks about, from time to time, that is really why it's so important to have a very reliable system, so that on those days that you are able to deliver that amount of electricity and that amount of load at that time during that time frame. And that's really when the system improvements that are being done, the tree trimming that's being done, those are the things that allow us to safely deliver that much electricity in such a short time frame. Some of the other things, there's a lot of construction, all types of construction that's going on in our area, and sometimes our facilities are hit, whether it's a crew out there doing trenchless construction or digging with a backhoe or something of that nature. They may hit some of our underground cables, things of that nature. Again, we have to get folks out there. They have to identify the problem. Then we have safety protocols to go through to make sure that they safely restore that electricity. Still have the system improvement going on out on Malone Road. The guys are doing a really good job out there. Hope to bring that to conclusion pretty soon. That will really be a really big deal once it's complete. The reliability out there and everything will certainly improve. And lastly, but certainly not least, as Kevin talked about some of the COVID stuff, the cases up from about April through about June the 6th. Kevin and I were talking here a while back that when it got to 300 cases, we were kind of like, wow, it's 300 cases, and then somewhere along June the 6th, it started increasing dramatically. And then it got to the point to where when it was 900 or 1,000 cases, it got to almost be the norm there for a couple of weeks. But in this last week, we did see that trend down just a little bit. We hope that continues just because of the level of the occupancy at all the area hospitals. We're certainly ready for it to start trending down. But as we started into this whole COVID era, that we've all been introduced to. Our plan, our intentions have not changed. Kevin said from the very onset that the number one concern was the safety of employees, members, and the general public, and to keep the lights on. And the employees of North Central have worked really, really hard and have dedicated themselves to do just that. As storm season rolls in, just please remember that if you see a line down, assume that the line is on or energized. Please make sure that you stay at least 50 feet away from any downed line that you see. Be sure that you report it, and that phone number to report that outage is 662-895-2151. Don't assume that we know about the outage. Please report it. That just lets our team get together and better determine how to restore those outages faster. And just please remember that during the storm season, if you have an outage, please don't try to report those outages on any kind of social media. Please, we don't monitor the social media for outage reports.
Well, I get the messages, but sometimes we can't. If I'm away from the office and it's harder to coordinate that information. It's the easiest way to do it is to call the 662-895-2151 number. We get those messages, but it's just we can't really always relate reliable information to the member when they're having that issue.
Well, the way that our system is built and the way that we are able to respond best is if the outage is reported, then the right people know about it. It gets reported to the right department. We can account for that and then plan how to get it restored just as quickly as possible. And that's all I have.
Yeah, and to kind of play off that just a little bit, outages and discussing how things are different with the virus. Be patient with us, because if we have an outage in the evening, odds are it may take a couple of minutes later for us longer to assemble our crews, because we're trying to coordinate our crews to make sure that we're not cross-contaminating people, that we don't have people that work on a particular crew during the day working with different guys at night. We've been working in staggered shifts and trying to make sure that we're keeping those people segregated from each other. Also, we talk about infection rates and the amount of testing that's going on, fatalities. What we're really looking at a lot is the hospitalization rate. We're trying to make sure that we're working as safe as possible, because we're very concerned. We don't want anyone to ever get hurt, but we certainly don't want someone to get hurt or burned and find themselves in an emergency room or in need of an ICU that can't accommodate them. So we've kind of ramped that up a little bit.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on to some community events and some developments in our area. Our Director of Marketing and Economic Development, Michael Bellapenny.
Thanks, Justin. Just a few things, and as a marketing director for, I'm getting blue lighted over there. As marketing director for a cooperative that serves a geographic territory, my buddies tease me a lot, because they assume, what do you do? You can't go out and sell more power. But really we can. And we're in the business of helping our members become more energy efficient and use less power in their homes that way. But at the same time, we do have to make revenue. And part of my job is to help recruit business and work with partners at TVA and the Mississippi Development Authority to recruit business into our service territory. Which creates jobs, it brings capital investment, and electric cooperatives have a long history of being a catalyst for economic development. So we were pleased to announce last week that IG Designs is going to locate their distribution operations in Marshall County. This is going to be a nearly 900 square foot facility in the Chickasaw Trails Industrial Park. IG is going to invest $49 million in capital in our area and create 35 jobs. Now, IG Designs, I think, has a long history from other companies through acquisitions and mergers of being in our area, but they They distribute premier paper products, gift wrap, and bags to our area. So always great to announce and welcome a new industry into our service territory. So we're happy about that.
I mean, everybody from all the branches is familiar with Clio Wrap.
Yeah, Clio Wrap. I think one of the original companies of IG Designs was the old Clio Wrap in Collierville. So, but good news all around for that. And on another note, talking about jobs, I follow a lot of these community pages on Facebook and just kind of keep my eye on them. And I notice from time to time that there are a lot of people that post questions out there. Who's hiring? So-and-so's needing a job. You know, it's not like the old days where you go open the classified ads and make the circles and highlights. Most everything's online, as we know, and job fairs and online hiring pages, and a lot of temporary companies, temporary placement companies are the way folks are finding jobs. But there's a great tool out there that I want folks to realize is at their disposal, and it's through the state of Mississippi. It's MississippiWorks.org. That's spell that out, MississippiWorks.org.
Oh, I thought you were asking me to spell it. I'm sorry.
Don't put me on the spot either to spell Mississippi. I'll have to start singing the song. But and they also have an app. If you search for it in the App Store, it's MS Works, I believe. But you could search all the jobs statewide, and I believe at the last time I looked, there were nearly 50,000 jobs available statewide, and much more in our area than you would expect. So you can enter search parameters, enter the industry, the type of job or work you're looking for, and that will kind of direct you to the right places. So I just hope that somebody will take from this and use that tool, because you know, with the outlook that I've heard from many analysts over the next 2 quarters of the year, or the rest of this quarter and the last quarter of the year, job outlook is going to be pretty high. So we expect continued economic growth. Matter of fact, just from an economic standpoint, Goldman Sachs came out with their growth numbers for equities, and they're anticipating in the near term, 3-year term, a 5% growth in equities. So that's just an indicator that the rebound is going to be coming from this little short hiccup, hopefully.
And you know, Michael, as far as Mississippi Works goes, if there are any employers out there interested in any workforce development programs, I know Mississippi Works is actually helping North Central with some workforce development. Yeah. And they do a great job with that, and easy to work with. So I would encourage them, anybody out there looking to partner with someone for some workforce development help, they're a great resource for that.
They really are.
I'm looking at it right now just to see if you go to MississippiWorks.org and look.
You're looking for a job?
I'm looking for a job right now. No, I did look within 50 miles of the Olive Branch zip code, and there's about 232 pages of job listings right now, and that's about I want to say about 2,000 openings, just about. That's what I'm looking at right now. But yeah.
Yeah, the opportunities out there in our area, in our service territory, are tremendous, and even you know, through that website you can find jobs from Bahia to Biloxi. So just keep that in your back pocket and put it to use for those that may be looking for a job. I'm going to piggyback on Kevin's conversation about fiber and North Central Connect. We are in the process of developing our marketing plan for our broadband services, and
see, we're going to build it. He's got to sell it.
Well, I'm hoping
I've got to create the materials for him to sell it.
Well, based on the commentary that we're hearing from our membership, the sales part should be pretty easy. If we're providing the speeds that we anticipate, the value from folks, you know, hopefully we'll have folks put their trust in us to be their internet service provider. But pretty soon we'll have a website out there to where you will be able to key in your address, and it'll log it, and if we're in the area, it'll let you know. It'll be a good aggregation process for us to understand where our potential subscribers are, where the demand is, and it'll help in our design and build plans. But just keep an eye out for that. We will advertise the heck out of it, I promise.
And maybe even a theme song.
Maybe so. But we
should have one of those. I like that idea. We should have one.
But yes, it's coming, and it will be here within the next couple of months. And like Kevin said, we're expecting to enroll subscribers before year end, and hopefully have upwards of of 400 by the end of the year. I know that we will have 35 miles of fiber built nearly by year end, according to our plan right now, and into the first quarter, we'll hit another gear. So exciting times for us, and just bear with us. We're going to get to you in time. And just to hit on a few community events, the Byhalia Chamber Luncheon is scheduled for August 13th here at the auditorium, and I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there that's according to prevailing conditions. So everything is fluid these days. But we still want to support our organizations. Olive Branch Chamber is scheduled for that week at Whispering Woods. You can go to their respective websites for more information, but we're going to try and be accommodating to these, and we're going to continue to support our organizations in the community, whether we're able to meet in person, virtually, or through email. So be on the lookout for the Today in Mississippi. It should hit mailboxes middle of next week. We've got some great pages, good information on Connect from Kevin, and then also describing installation of some fiber huts in our service territory, and also a feature that Justin put together on the Community Care Fund. We talked about this last month, but TVA and North Central partnered together to come up with a fund to help provide some relief for those nonprofits, those organizations, those beneficiaries that have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. With our partnership through the Community Foundation of Northwest Mississippi, and they're great people there. They've gone out and found matching funds from organizations like the Maddox Foundation, the Walton Family Foundation, Team Waste, and other partners to multiply that money and do the most good with it. So that article describes some of the activity that we did in distributing some of those checks last week, and even after press date, I'm happy to report that we've got 2 other recipients of grants. Trinity Healthcare is an organization that's opening up in the western part of our county and is going to serve uninsured individuals for primary care. A wonderful organization that hopes to open their doors sometime in the next couple of months, if not sooner. We were able to come up with a donation of $5,000 for them. And that comes, again, as partnership through the foundation, the Community Foundation, TVA, North Central, and the Maddox Foundation.
That's a great program. I mean, the dollars are continuing to grow. It's not that we're just giving out grants.
That's right.
There's still contacts being made for matching grants. So Michael's doing a great job of making sure the money gets distributed, but it's still growing to a certain degree.
And at this time, with everybody, all the uncertainty, charity's the first thing to go.
That's right.
And we're trying to make sure that, because you get to hear these stories, like, about the refrigeration unit that got bought, and they can extend the food bank program, right. And there's the child advocacy center that was helping out. It's just, you hear all these stories, and it's just like these people still need help. And I know that we're all dealing with uncertain times, but there's still people that just because we're not giving anymore doesn't mean people don't stop needing.
That's right. Yeah, and there's another a wonderful organization in South Haven, House of Grace. I know many of you probably heard of it, but they provide educational opportunities and aid for folks that are underprivileged. Their main fundraiser was affected this year by COVID-19, so it affects their budget. It affects what they can do and what good they can do in this community. And through our partnerships with TVA and the Community Foundation and the Maddox Foundation, we were able to present a check to them for $10,000, which was their goal for that fundraiser. So I say that it's fun to be able to give out the checks, but to see the giving from these foundations is pretty remarkable. And you as a listener and our members have an opportunity to give too. I mean, this is it's going directly to a nonprofit 501c3 organization. So by all tax purposes, you should get a deduction. But you may contribute to this fund by contacting the Community Foundation at cfnm.org. Reach out to them, and if you or your company wants to contribute to this, it'll continue to enable us to do more good in our communities. So And lastly, just to cover a fundraiser that will go off, is the 14th annual Fellowship of Christian Athletes Golf Tournament, which is going to be held at Cherokee Valley on August 31st. FCA is a wonderful organization that we've got a long-time relationship with. Great event with a morning and afternoon flight. This is a golf scramble, a 4-man golf scramble that is a qualifying scramble. So you're competing against other FCA divisions across the state.
I was going to ask to be on the team till he entered the whole competition thing and advancement. I better take one for the team and sit this one out.
You do get to state your handicap for the tournament, so there's a little grace given on the scorecard. But y'all,
Some honesty needed.
whether you're there for competition or whether you're there to support the organization, please go to North Central MSFCA, northcentralmsfca.org to find out more about the tournament, how to enter a team or sponsor. So.
Yeah, great organization. We attended their breakfast this last winter. It's a great organization. Do wonderful things in this area.
They are.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. There is we have a save the date for the annual meeting, right?
Yes, we do. Annual meeting date is October 28th. Y'all are testing me.
I'm sorry. Well, I just thought about it myself. So hang on. Let me.
I'm pretty confident it is the 28th, and that's going to be held at 2:00 in the North Central Auditorium. Prevailing conditions of this pandemic.
Yeah, that will be the 28th, and we'll.
Okay, so we were right. Okay.
The annual meeting will go off. It may not go off as we normally have it. We'll double check with our bylaws to make sure that we're in compliant with every way. And as always, we want robust participation in our annual meeting, but depending on the climate, things may have to change a little bit. So
that's right, and that's at that meeting. Kevin will give an update on the organization financial performance for the year. We'll have board elections, reports from each department, and some door prize drawings. So.
And you can learn more about the board of directors and the annual meeting on our website, northcentralelectric.com. Just hover over the cooperative, and there's a menu of all kinds of information about our bylaws and board of directors and anything that you want to, if you want to be more participatory in your cooperative. So yeah. All right. Well, that's about it. So we will see you guys for the September episode. All right.
If you or someone you know has experienced a financial hardship during the recent pandemic, we urge you to find out more about the Low Income Home Energy Assistant, or LIHEAP program. To find out more, visit the news page of our website at northcentralelectric.com.